All right, everyone, welcome to our lesson for today on the Enlightened Despots for December 4th, 2017. So, objectives and standards to analyze reforms enlightened despots made during the time period and explain why the term enlightened despot applies to certain monarchs. Take a look at the standard there as well, if you would, please. Desired result: how did enlightened despots change and impact the world? And in our vocabulary preview here, we have the term enlightened despots. We'll go over what that term means in the lesson here. An enlightened despot was a king or queen who kind of followed the rules and followed the beliefs of the Enlightenment. So monarchs become enlightened. Many philosophers believe that the best type of monarchy was the one that ruled according to the rights of the people. Remember that during the age of absolutism, many kings and queens were not following the kind of views or respecting the rights of the people. So that's going to change during the Enlightenment with many kings and queens. Now these thinkers, these enlightened thinkers, are going to try to get the monarchs to follow these beliefs. And like I said, some monarchs are going to embrace these new ideas and made some reforms. And therefore, these rulers will become known as enlightened despots. One of these was actually, we talked about Frederick the Great during the Age of Absolutism. He was from Prussia. And how was he an enlightened despot? Well, he allowed for religious freedom, so he did allow for different types of religious groups. He limited censorship. Limiting censorship means that prior to this, many kings and queens would limit what the press or what people in public could say about them. So censorship is stopping people from saying bad things about the government or bad things about the king or the queen. So he puts a limit on that. He says, hey, it's okay for people to criticize the government. He also improved education, reformed the criminal system, and he abolished torture as well. Now, Joseph II of Austria, there's a picture of him there. How was he an enlightened despot? He also embraced legal reforms. He was also a proponent of freedom of the press, meaning that the press could, criticize the government or criticize the king or the queen. Again, prior to this, this was very unusual. The press could not really write anything bad about a king or a queen. He was also a supporter of freedom of worship. And he also abolished serfdom. So serfdom was when peasants would work the land for the nobles and have to, they weren't really paid for working land. It was kind of like slavery almost in Europe, where these people would work the land for these nobles and not be paid for their services. So Joseph II of Austria, he decides to abolish that serfdom program and ordered that peasants be paid with cash for working the land. Catherine II, or Catherine the Great, was from Russia. Picture her there. And how was she an enlightened despot? Again, religious toleration, abolished torture. She abolished the capital punishment. So again, not executing people or not, going about and killing people for the laws that they've committed. So we're trying to reform the criminal justice system as well. And then she also expanded Russian territory as well. Okay, so we'll wrap up here. So monarchs became enlightened. Philosophers urged monarchs to rule with the rights of their people in mind. And we do have some enlightened despots. We talked about Frederick the Great in Prussia, Joseph II in Austria, and also Catherine II, or more commonly known as Catherine the Great in Russia. And these monarchs from across Europe are going to begin to make reforms and changes that benefit their people. Things like freedom of the press, freedom of religion, abolishing torture, getting rid of serfdom so people can, not live in slavery almost. All right, so that's all I have for the enlightened despots. Please try your best on the questions that follow, and I'll hopefully see and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.